Hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Rini Chaudhary and you're watching Perspective. Last week, India, along with 27 other countries and the European Union, reached an agreement at Bletchley Park in the United Kingdom to establish a shared understanding of the opportunities and risks posed by artificial intelligence, or AI. Signed on the first day of the AI summit hosted by the UK, the Bletchley Declaration marks the first international declaration to deal with this fast-emerging technology. Bletchley Park is, in fact, regarded as one of the birthplaces of computer science and was a renowned code-breaking hub during the Second World War. The declaration recognizes the need for global action to tackle the possible risks of AI while encouraging a more in-depth exploration of its full potential. Artificial intelligence is poised to transform nearly every possible aspect of our lives. It presents enormous global opportunities and can greatly enhance human well-being, peace and prosperity. These promises, however, also come with significant risks, many of which transcend national boundaries. In today's discussion, we will try to understand the nature and scale of the threats posed by AI and how international collaboration can help address the same. We will also discuss what India's own vision for an artificial intelligence future means for the road ahead. Joining me for this conversation today are two eminent panelists. I'm delighted to welcome Shri Abhishek Singh, President and CEO, National E-Governance Division, and MD and CEO, Digital India Corporation. I'm also delighted to welcome Professor Mausam from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, IIT Delhi, and the founding head of Yardley School of Artificial Intelligence. Thank you for your time, sir. We are glad to have you with us. We begin today's discussion with Shri Abhishek Singh. Sir, we'll start with the basics. Could you briefly take us through some of the concerns that AI poses to the global community today and why international collaboration is necessary to help mitigate these threats?
Artificial intelligence as a technology has been around for a fairly long time. And we all use in our day-to-day life AI in some form or the other. So whether it's getting recommendations for a YouTube engine or on Netflix or even a basic speech-to-text translation, all are applications of simple applications of AI. So what has happened recently is that with the recent advances in the compute power that is available to companies and using that and the data sets that are available for processing, large-scale foundation models have been built in, which have gone to what is now commonly known as the frontier of AI. And what happens is that when you acquire human-like capabilities, then machines are able to do tasks that humans could not and one could not have imagined machines to do. And sometimes they start doing those tasks much better than what humans could do. And when you're reaching that level of interface where machines are becoming as smart as what humans can be, then there are potential risks that are associated, because very often you would not know whether you are talking to a human or a machine. And those machines can be used to do a variety of things that can result in profit for some, but can lead to a lot of risk for many. For example, there can be risks in the cybersecurity domain. There can be risks in the way you interact with people. There can be risks in the way you are given information. Deep fakes, we have all heard about it, how deep fakes work, how misinformation works, how influence works, and all of it, when it goes into a domain of say, elections, or in making people do things which they would not have otherwise done, or believing things about a crime or riots or something, or in every war we have seen this being used in some form or the other. So when AI generated images, videos start doing such a thing, it can cause a lot of damage to societies, life, property, everyone. So that is the time when we need to think of how do we need to act together in being able to use AI for the positive use cases, for healthcare, agriculture, or education, and other positive use cases, but also be aware of the risks that are there. And why do you need international cooperation? Because many times, many of these risks emanate from one geography. The victim will be in some other geography, and the actual perpetrator who is trying to execute the whole thing might be in some other country. So you need to bring in international cooperation in this, international standards to define what is wrong, what is right. How do you define the responsible AI framework? How do you define assessment frameworks which are fair, which are explainable, which are just, and then biases which are inherent in the development of AI algorithms that are handled. And very often, what we also see is that the advancement of AI technology is concentrated in few companies and few countries. So, how do you ensure the rest of the world also catches up with it? How they understand how the technology works? How they understand that they are not left at the receiving end and they are able to join hands. So, towards this objective, there have been several initiatives for bringing the world together on these issues. The UK AI Safety Summit was one, but over and above this, we are also the chair for the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence this
Right.
year. Several discussions have happened there. The G7 Hiroshima process also came up with the declaration. In the G20 leadership meet, also our Prime Minister mentioned how we can use AI for good and AI for betterment of the whole world. So there have been several conversations around that to bring in consensus with regard to positive use cases of artificial intelligence.
Right, sir. Professor Mawsam, the next question to you, please. The Bletchley Declaration talks about the risks posed by frontier AI. So, could you elaborate on what we mean by frontier AI? And again, we are living in an era where we are in the middle of a technological transformation or a technological revolution, and innovation happens to be the buzzword. How does the Bletchley Declaration balance the need for innovation and technological advancement with the imperative to establish safeguards against potential AI-related misuse?
Great questions, Rini. So let's first talk about what is frontier AI or frontier technologies within AI. So of course, AI itself is considered a frontier technology by many because AI has been developing very fast and it is not yet in the level of widespread adoption. And so people are sort of catching up and the policy is catching up and governance is catching up. But what is frontier within AI itself? So what has happened in the last couple of years is that some extremely large models have been created. Abhishek actually pointed out to something called foundational models.
Right.
See, the idea there is that you take humongous amounts of, let's say, text. It could be images, but for now, let's take the example of text and have the model predict, given half of the sentence, what should be the completion, what should be the next word, what should be the word after that. Now, seems like a very simple, task, not a very, deep insight. But when done at scale with huge amounts of data, with huge amounts of compute power, and the model itself is also huge, then what ends up happening is that the model starts to exhibit what is called, new qualities. They evolve, right? These were not expected of the model. They just come into the model. And so when tried after training this model for, let's say dialogue task, you ask it a question, it starts to give coherent answers. You ask it to summarize a piece of text, it does a really good job. You ask it to, let's say, create a narrative or be artistic or creative about writing a movie script, it suggests some ideas. So we started checking on what is the ability of these new models, and the models started to really surprise us. In fact, nobody anticipated that the models will be that good, and all the AI researchers themselves were surprised and stunned at the amount of wisdom and knowledge and reasoning abilities that this model ended up showcasing. So this is what is called the frontier technology within AI. So now having this model, for example, a very famous model is GPT-4 or Chat GPT, which was released by OpenAI in Berkeley. And that model has been there for everybody to look at and play with. And people have already started using these frontier models in their applications, in their companies. I read some news report where somebody created a quick application in 15,000 rupees, and that application got sold for 22 crores in a few weeks or months. So, I mean, people are just really playing with it and increasing their productivity through this. Now, they have been doing this with abandon, but obviously you have to be careful, because if you start asking the question like, tell me how do I pose as an Al Qaeda representative and brainwash somebody's mind, then you don't want this model to give you a good answer. Or if you say, tell me, create a new sexual lawsuit or sexual harassment story about a particular person, you don't want this model to give you this kind of an information or misinformation, as Abhishek says. So the point is that we want to use the positive aspects of this model, but we don't want this model to act in negative ways such that it creates more commotion in the society. It starts to spread, wrong information and starts to, for example, the same thing can be done in the vision world. Vision means images world.
We'll come back to this, sir. In a slightly different note, In December this year, India will be hosting the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, or the GPAI Summit, as Mr. Abhishek Singh mentioned. The Ministry of Electronics and IT has approved of a national program on artificial intelligence, and India at this point is talking about AI in India and make AI work for India. In this context, my question to Mr. Abhishek Singh again, how does India's participation in the Bletchley Declaration align with its own national strategies for harnessing AI and, again, in turn, managing the potential risks, especially in sectors like healthcare, education, or defense?
India's national strategy on AI, India's national program on AI has always focused on responsible AI and ensuring artificial intelligence for social empowerment. So we have been, like all our key policies, we have been trying to leverage technology for people's empowerment and for ensuring better delivery of services. To that extent, India's strategy focuses on a very tight balance between innovation and regulation. We want innovative regulatory solutions to be developed, and at the same time be aware of the risks that are there. UK's AI Safety Summit focused mainly on safety and security aspects and mainly on trying to bring together the risks that frontier AI can cause. In India, while we have a strong digital public infrastructure ecosystem that has developed with a lot of technology being used for public services, but when it comes to applications for AI for improving delivery of services, we have had several examples, but they have mainly been in a proof of concept or pilot stages, whether it's use of AI for detecting breast cancer or use of AI for detecting diabetic retinopathy or cataract or for agriculture or for NLP, natural language processing. With the Bhashini project, we have not really kind of taken up implementation of AI at a huge scale. So what we need to do is that leveraging the talent that exists in India, we have the huge potential of using AI to work and to enhance the user experience when citizens are delivered public services, as also citizens access basic healthcare and agriculture educational services. While do so, we have to be aware of the risks that are there, and the AI Safety Summit in the UK clearly identified that, brought together countries together, corporations together. The companies which are developing foundational models and large language models are hardly any one of them in India. People of Indian origin are running those solutions, but Indian startups and Indian companies are yet to go there when we really start feeling that the threat of AI is there. So we need to have policies wherein we provide support for compute, provide support for making data sets available so that Indian IT companies and startups can leverage that and go up to a level where they can compete with those companies who have built foundation models which are proving to be a threat. So we don't need to be alarmed to begin with, but we need to be aware of the risks which are there. And our focus as the national program on AI and national strategy on AI should primarily be to enable development of AI-based solutions, ensure that sufficient compute is available, ensure that data sets that the government has or the private sector has becomes available in an anonymized, privacy-preserved method to use them for building AI models. So we need to encourage more of innovation and more of development of AI-based solutions than being too alarmed or too concerned about safety and risk. So our strategy is slightly different compared to what the European or the UK would have been like trying to force on or emphasize on.
Right. So we are talking about the immense potential that AI has and how this can be leveraged to benefit citizen services or public service delivery at large. In this context, Professor Mawsam, my question to you, the global community at large and India in particular is extremely diverse in terms of its social, cultural, political fabric. What steps are being taken, or for that matter can be taken, to prevent AI from acquiring biases from the data sets that they are being trained on?
Yes, that's a great question, and it's also a very hard question. There's a lot of research going on how to debias the models. Models get biased in many different ways. So first of all, the data itself is biased. Why is the data biased? Because we are biased. You know, if you look at ourselves, we look introspect, we will find that we have subtle biases. We don't even know we have them.
Right.
Those biases start creeping into the data. So first of all, that creates the model. So also you have to realize that our world is a little bit biased. You know, we talk about gender equality, but genders are not equal. We talk about caste equalities, but caste is not equal when we look at the amount of education that people have had, amount of money that they have. So those factors of the reality of the situation also creeps into the data. It has to. The third thing is that model also amplifies bias. For example, if basically model learns some patterns, right? So if the model learns a pattern that generally this kind of person is a good person for a doctor, generally that kind of profile is a good profile for a nurse, and you will see that maybe one particular profile will fit more with male and the other will fit more with women. So the model will start believing that, okay, more often than not, males are doctors and therefore only males should be doctors. So basically that last leap of faith, which is that, because this is what is statistically happening, therefore that should happen, is an error, and the model must not make those. So at three levels, right? So data is biased, our annotation is biased because we are biased, and then the model amplifies the bias. We have to debias it in exactly these three ways, right? So the first is we have to study how to debias the model. How do we debias the model? We say that whatever is in the data, whatever statistical properties in the data, no worse statistical property should happen in the predictions. It's a very difficult problem. There's a lot of research going on. There are research communities only focused on that task. There's work happening at IIT Madras, Indian Institute of Science, IIT Delhi, and many IITs and other places inside the country and elsewhere in the world. The second thing is annotation. We have to collectively define some phenomena which says that we have to do some corrections. We have to do some parity. We have to do some affirmative action. We do reservation, but then we have to kind of do a little bit of affirmative action in the data itself in order for the models to start becoming less biased. Many examples they are not just in India. You talked about India being diverse and therefore problematic. There are examples in the US where judges were trying to figure out whether they should give bail to a particular person or not. And they were using an AI system, and the AI system was found to be racist. It was making more errors on the negative side for black people and more errors on the positive side for white people. So it's not just a problem in India, it's a problem everywhere in the world, and it's an active area of research. What we need to do is we need to think about, for a given application, how much bias is okay. We have to have strong auditing mechanisms, strong evaluation structures, so that a company cannot just put a solution without proper thorough testing. That is why we need all this regulation on AI. That is why we had this AI Safety Summit. And that's why all the countries are coming together to think about how to carefully test every application of AI such that misinformation and all these negative things don't go into the world at large.
Right. Shri Abhishek Singh, my question to you again. India has a thriving services sector, and this happens to be a major contributor to our economy. But advancements in disruptive technologies like AI automatically raise fears of job losses, which again has both social and economic repercussions. How do you assess the impact of AI on our services sector, and what does this mean for India's economy, especially at a time when we have attained the position of being the 5th largest economy in the world?
See, like what you rightfully said, it's a very relevant question. And whenever we talk of AI, we also talk of future of work. And what AI does is that it will make some jobs redundant. It will make some jobs which will cease to exist. For example, AI is used a lot for CRM, customer relationship management. These days, when you call up your airline or you call up any service provider, in most cases, you might be talking to a bot rather than a real human being. So all those jobs which the BPO outsourcing sector in India was providing, those jobs are likely to be impacted. Then we are also seeing that, especially the generative AI, developments in generative AI, they have started doing some jobs better than humans. For example, creative writing. Professor Mosam spoke about writing poems and writing poetry or creating art. We find that, or writing letters, those skill sets of Chat GPT and other tools which have come up are much better than humans. And in fact, one startup founder was telling me that he had a team out of 50. Sometime back he had a team of 5 creative writers, but with the advent of Chat GPT, he has fired 4, and he is able to manage more work with just one person. So it is true. Similarly, basic level coding work also can be done by AI tools much better than human coders. So these are some jobs which will definitely be impacted. Some jobs which will definitely there might be job losses there. So what is the lesson there? What is it that that government needs to do, or we all need to together do, is that think of what are the new jobs that will be created. Because whenever any such sector comes up, while some jobs become less, there are many more jobs that are created. So what we have seen is that with the advent of AI, the jobs of data analysis, data annotation, data science goes up. The job of skill sets which involves AI-based coding, AI-based algorithm writing, or AI-based skill sets. These will also be there. So we would need to have a very strong program of reskilling and upskilling so that one acquires the AI skills that are required to survive in the changing times that we have. And that's why Government of India has a program called Future Prime Skills. The Future Prime Skills is a program that we run in partnership with industry, wherein all the people who are already employed in the IT sector are given opportunities to reskill and upskill themselves so that they can take up the jobs that they are emerging. Another key initiative that has been taken up by the National Program on Artificial Intelligence is that a lot of data annotation work will come up. Because suppose I have to design a AI-based tuberculosis detecting system, I will need to annotate the X-ray images that exist all across the country, or I will need to like classify what image is what. So for that, we will need skill sets. So under the national program on AI, around 250 ITIs and polytechnics are being equipped with data labs wherein they will train people to acquire those skills. So that ITIs polytechnics will not continue to train people to become fitters and mechanics, but they will train people to become data scientists, data analysts. So those jobs will come up. So we always need to be conscious of the impact technology has on the job sector, be prepared to see job losses in some sectors, but
Right.
also have a strategy for skilling so that the opportunities that are emerging can be leveraged on. And
Right.
as India has always stood very high in the availability of AI skilled workforce, and the entire world will be looking at people who have the skill sets of
Right.
working on AI projects or building AI based
So we
solutions.
have talked about the need for skilling, but again, when we are talking about artificial intelligence being utilized for, say, writing poems, or we have cases where AI is being utilized to write the screenplay of a movie. And in fact, there are a lot of posts doing the round on the internet where students have very obviously used artificial intelligence or ChatGPT to do their homework. So in this context, do easily accessible AI tools such as ChatGPT pose a threat to human creativity and critical thinking? If yes, what does this mean for our future?
To the
I
same
mean,
extent, oh, sorry.
Professor
go ahead,
Mawsam,
Abhishek.
maybe start with you, please.
Sure, sure. Okay. I just want to close what Abhishek said in the following way. The future is going to look like AI centric. So you should get to train in AI, train with AI, or work with AI, and also learn how to train an AI system. And I think those are the skills that will be very highly needed. So if you are a parent today, then your student, I mean your children, they should be working with robots, working with data science, working with these tools so that they get a little bit more easier aware and can do better in the future. Coming to the question, Rini, that you asked. Um, Look, when calculators were introduced, yeah, let's just go back, right? So people said, oh, now kids will not learn multiplication. No, that never happened. They learned multiplication, but they, at some point, maybe not did mental multiplication and just went on to use calculator as a tool to do the multiplication for them. They understood the concept, they weren't as fast. Similarly, there was a time, we used to write our things in a diary or we used to memorize phone numbers. Now we have a phone, it remembers all the phone numbers for us. We have no need to memorize phone numbers, but there are other things to memorize. So once any technology like this comes in, people are always scared on whether we are going to lose our own skill sets. We may lose a little bit, but I think in an education scenario, you can still teach people the basic reasoning abilities, the advanced reasoning abilities. Also, AI will make mistakes. There are things that AI will not do well. There are things that the rare events AI will make mistakes on. I give you an example. Let's say there are boilerplate X-rays where you are trying to figure out a tuberculosis case. AI may do a faster job and equally good job as a trained radiologist. On the other hand, if it's a unique kind of a rare situation, a situation that often is read in the books, but the real X-rays would not be shown in the actual for training data, then a trained radiologist will actually do a better job than the AI system. We will have competing and complementary strengths and weaknesses, AI systems and humans. And so at least the world that I envision is a world when AI systems and humans will be working together on pretty much everything. So let's talk about creative. You can't ask an AI system to write a movie script. That won't work. If you can ask it to write 10 movie scripts, it will give you 10 ideas. Then you as a human will say, okay, this idea, part of the idea, that part of the idea together may make a good story. Then you will collect those ideas together. You will ask the AI system to then brainstorm with you to again, and then slowly things will get fleshed out. I envision that an AI system will not be creative, period. It will give you suggestions, and you, with the AI system, will be able to improve the overall creativity of the system. So I think overall, I don't see a future where the job loss is that severe that we lose out on skills completely. I see a future where humans and AIs are working hand in hand on almost everything, increasing our productivity and taking the overall knowledge and creativity of the world further.
Sir, on a related note, my last question to Mr. Singh. So we have talked about having an AI-centric future, as Professor Mawsam mentioned. So in this context, concerns have been raised about having a future in which AI technologies and their benefits are exclusively controlled or enjoyed by a very select group. So the fear is that there will be an AI elite comprising large corporations who have the capital to invest in AI technologies, and the less privileged majority would probably find themselves on the wrong side of the digital divide. So how do we ensure that the benefits of AI reach all segments of society, including the marginalized communities and rural areas?
This is again a very, very relevant question, because again, and this issue has very often been debated on, should AI only be used for making driverless cars or creating art and music for the elite, or should AI also be used for addressing challenges of healthcare or agriculture or education? So in this debate, India especially is leading the global south in trying to ensure that we have a fair balance between building solutions for the larger social good and building solutions which can generate revenues for the bigger companies. So this challenge will always remain. How do we address that? We need to, since especially a country like India, which has a huge population and which can actually leverage AI for benefiting farmers, people in the rural areas, we need to invest more. We need to invest more in compute. We should not always be dependent on the Western countries who have the majority of the compute infrastructure there. And if we do that, and if we make our compute infrastructure available to our researchers, to our students, to our startups, and come up with saying that, okay, I want an AI-based solution for addressing, for giving early warnings for people who live in flood-prone areas, wherein there can be a model which can be built based on weather data, based on river water data, and combination of factors, and they can actually run these algorithms and ensure that these are solved for. So we need to incentivize that. We need to take up such challenges at a population scale and then also fund them. So India, since it has already taken the initiative DPI, we can do that. And once we do that, and once we develop these solutions, and if any AI-based solution works in a country like India, it would definitely work in any other country, given our size and diversity. And then these solutions, if they are made available to the country, the global south, there will be more focused attention to that, and that we will be able to democratize access to AI. So we as the incoming chair of the Global Partnership on AI have kept this as the core of our focus. The key themes that we have identified include climate change, include AI in healthcare, includes AI in agriculture, includes responsible AI framework, and we have also proposed a new theme of collaborative AI for global partnerships. Like, how do we take up projects in a collaborative mode? If there can be a CERN for AI, just like there is CERN for research, if we can build that kind of infrastructure and provide access to compute that India is building to even countries of the global south, we can ensure that we take the lead in democratizing access to AI-based solutions and ensure that benefits of AI are not limited to a select few only.
Thank you, sir, for your inputs. I thank both our guests for this conversation today. We've had a very nuanced and insightful look into the various aspects of artificial intelligence, of the Bletchley Declaration, and what this means for the future going ahead. And there is no doubt that in the scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation that we expect to see over the next several years will be unlike anything we have ever experienced before. But as we discussed, we are sure that humans and machines or artificial intelligence will be able to harness the mutual strengths and complement one another to create a future where we can create new aspirations and translate dreams. And again, we hope that India is able to take the lead in steering this conversation and to democratize AI, not just for the global south, but for the world at large. Thank you. That's it for this edition of Perspectives. Thank you for watching.